to our Menopause Monday. So today I am talking about menopause and mental health. I think that, well, certainly as a menopausal woman myself, I think mental health is one of those things that so many of us are affected. And actually, oftentimes we don't even know that it's the menopause that is causing us to feel this way. I think specifically at this time of life, because you may have you might be going through the menopause early on. I mean, perimenopause can set off even in your mid to late 20s if you're really unlucky. I was technically early. I think mine started around about 46, 47. I'm now 49 and I am now postmenopausal. I don't know if you realise, but our menopause is literally just one day, and that's the day that marks 12 months since your last period. So perimenopause seems to have the majority of the symptoms that we associate with menopause. And part of that sort of discombobulation that a lot of us feel is the fact that we actually don't really appreciate that we're actually going through into perimenopause. And if you go and talk to the doctor, a lot of times they'll say, no, you're too young. And it's really disconcerting because you know you're not your normal self, but there are no real symptoms to prove that you're not your normal self. You just don't feel your normal self. And I had quite a few of those symptoms. One of my worst ones was hot flashes. I found that was something that I could turn into a melting volcano within seconds. And that happened particularly badly at night time, but I'd had that for years running up to actually realising that I was perimenopausal. So whether or not I actually was perimenopausal that time, you can be in perimenopause for a long period of time. And so as our estrogen levels fall, that's sort of marking the time when our ovaries are stopping production of eggs, and our estrogen levels are falling, which has a negative impact on our serotonin levels. Now, our serotonin is one of the hormones that make us feel lighter of mood and happier, and so as estrogen falls, so does our ability to create serotonin. So there's a direct biochemical link there as to why. Oh, sorry, my dog wants to come on up. I think nearly every live I've done recently, in all my groups, in all my team pages, you want to be the star of the show, don't you, Snoopy? She's lovely. She's just a bit smelly. And so, there is that link directly between estrogen and serotonin. It's also really important to realise, and a lot of people don't understand this, is the fact that about 90% of our serotonin gets created in our gut. So our gut health is incredibly important, particularly as we go through the menopause. But that aside, I think, when you get to, if you're lucky enough to have menopause in midlife, that in itself brings up so many changes, because often if you've got kids, they're leaving home. That's a tumultuous time in a parent's life. But I think particularly if you've been a stay-at-home mum and then all of a sudden your nearly grown up children are about to flee the nest. For me, when my daughter left to go to university, it was hard. It was really hard, even though I know she's settled in well and she's incredibly happy. Once that was established, it was a lot easier to deal with, but that whole shift for me was massive. I've still got my son at home, and thank goodness I have my career, because that will help me get through that period when he leaves home as well. And it's not a day I'm looking forward to, I have to admit, but you can't keep them stuck at home just to keep us happy. It's just, but it's tough. And I think also, you go through, I think a lot of women stay in unhappy relationships until the kids have left home. And then you're faced with, well, what do I do? Do I leave? Do I divorce? Do I create my own life? What happens if I lose my job? Can I actually get a job? I've got so many friends, actually both men and women, who have hit their sort of 50s, and can they find a job? They're being made redundant. This security, this fallacy of having a secure job where you have the healthcare and you have the pension. I mean, for me, I'm so relieved that I work for myself. Yes, it means everything falls on my shoulders, but I also know I've got to, I'm not going to just make myself redundant, and I'm not going to just squander my pension package, because it gives you that security. So, if you're not there yet, or if you're in that situation, don't stay stuck. Don't let fear of the unknown keep you stuck. There are so many opportunities out there now in so many different fields. You just have to get out there and start exploring. But don't feel that you've hit 50 and you're never going to find another job. You might not be able to find a job easily during following the conventional routes, but there are so many opportunities out there. So, just have faith and hope in that aspect of your life. But traditionally, it's incredibly difficult at this time of life. So yes, you might, and you also might be caring for elderly parents at this stage of life as well. Yeah, that again is just such a strain on you. And one of the things that I've learned to do, which I used to be really bad at, is giving myself grace. And my one of my biggest weaknesses is being a perfectionist. It drives me insane, but I just am. And I've had to get used to letting that perfection go. I mean, what is perfection anyway? It's just a pain in the ass, because you never reach it. You're always striving for another goal, and all you do is wind yourself up because something wasn't quite perfect. And so one of the biggest things that I have learned is to give myself grace. And if I, especially running my own businesses, I get to bed and I hardly ever get my to-do list completed. And I have this growing pile of paperwork, which I keep promising myself I'm going to file one day. And I never get to do it. I mean, the good thing is eventually a lot of the stuff on the bottom of the pile becomes kind of null and void. So I just bin it eventually. But, it's still frustrating. So I think you just have to, you get used to being kind to yourself and giving yourself some grace. And there are strategies that I use. Now, I never used to meditate. I rarely did affirmations. I rarely did positive visualizations. I love all that stuff. I read a lot of that sort of literature. I believe it works. I just never really gave myself time to do it. But since becoming menopausal, and there were times when I know that I'm actually feeling really anxious, and there've been a few occasions when I've thought I'm going to have to do some deep breathing because I can feel I'm going to have a panic attack if I don't. And that's really rare. It was a really bizarre thing. I mean, I'm a psychotherapist, so I understand how anatomically that works and how it feels, and I could sense it was coming on, and it was really strange, because I felt like I'd lost, sort of made me feel lacking in confidence in me a little bit too. But again, it's almost like accepting that we're in this stage of life. I think Western society, we celebrate youth, we celebrate younger women, we celebrate younger beauty, and I think there's this whole misconception that when you get to midlife, you're pretty much chucked on the scrap heap. And thankfully, and particularly with the growing sort of social media, and it's not just full of young girls taking photographs of themselves in the bathroom mirror. There are a lot of women out there sharing their stories and empowering other women. Yes, sharing their photographs, but in a way, read the captions, because there are a lot of women out there who are just normal people. That's part of my health and fitness business too. And I must admit, I never thought I would take a selfie. It's kind of like, because it's part and parcel of it these days. But there's always a reason for it. It's not necessarily, oh, look at me, aren't I pretty? It's the fact that, check out my miracle stomach, which is hanging over the top of my shorts because it's my baby belly. And I think the more that we can all sort of rejoice in each other's stories and celebrate each other, and realize that midlife is more of a beginning rather than an end. For me, that changed an awful lot. It made me feel a lot more confident again, and it sort of it helped me find my niche and my tribe of people who I feel safe with and I don't feel judged by. And actually, if anybody judges you, well, it says a lot more about them than it does you in any case. But there are things that I have started to do since being menopausal, and finding that I've had to take stock and make a few adjustments, because if not, my sleep was suffering. I could feel the anxiety building up at times. I did feel like I wasn't quite sure where Kate had gone. And now Kate's back with full force, and I put that down to these simple things that I do daily. So one of them is workout. If you follow me on social media, you know that every single day I work out. I don't just work out because I love working out. I work out because I love the feeling after I've worked out. It does settle my nerves. If I'm feeling, I mean, this time of the year is awful. In the northern hemisphere, it's dark, it's dreary, it's cold. I'm a sun lover, and working out, it boosts your endorphins, and it gobbles up stress hormones, and it makes me feel a lot better. I feel fit, I feel strong, I feel toned, and I think if you feel reasonably happy in your skin, it's a really good place to start. And if you don't feel happy in your skin, it is never too late to start. Never ever feel that you can't, there's not something out there for you that you will enjoy. But for me, that is a daily non-negotiable. It's as important to me to work out as it is to brush my teeth. And I don't even ask myself if I want to do it. I just see what the workout is for that day, press play, and off I go, and I just do my best. The other one I've really changed my views on is the importance of sleep in our midlife. Sleep is just like the cornerstone. It's the foundation of good mental and physical health. We need probably less sleep as we get older, but I would say you want to be focusing on a minimum of say 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now you might think, oh, I'm never going to be able to get 9 hours of sleep. I can barely get 6.5. If that's the case, look at where you can make a few adjustments. I'm as guilty as everyone else, going to bed thinking, I'm not too tired, maybe I'll just watch that for a few minutes, and then that few minutes becomes an hour, and then, sometimes if that episode was really good, you sometimes think, oh, I might watch the next one too. But why? We pay the price. We heal when we're asleep. Our brains flush, our spinal column flushes. Dementia has been linked to poor sleep. We absolutely need it. It's when we renew. It's also when we burn the majority of our calories. So, really good sleep is important on every single level. So, prioritize good sleep. Eat reasonably clean. I know that sounds boring, but it's the truth. We need more vegetables. A lot of us don't eat enough vegetables. A lot of us eat too many carbs, like pasta and rice, white pasta. Go for the whole grain or the brown options if you can. Whole grains are very good actually because of the healthy fats in the seeds and the minerals that you get. Now, back to sort of the serotonin issue. We need an amino acid called L-tryptophan. And L-tryptophan we can get in certain foods, and we need that in order to synthesize serotonin. So if, as our estrogen declines and our serotonin levels are being hit, we want to maximize the amount of serotonin that we're able to produce ourselves. So you need foods that are high in L-tryptophan, and foods high are things like coriander, dark chocolate, yay, tofu, nut seeds, turkey, banana. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head which ones they are. Anchovies. I know there's another one as well, another one or two. Avocados, which is great because I love, oh God, I absolutely adore my avocados. Eggs are high in L-tryptophan. Fermented foods are high in L-tryptophan. So, things like that, you want to be including those sort of 2 to 3 times minimum a week, just to give your sort of serotonin levels a natural boost. Obviously, when we sleep well, it means that our bodies have done what they needed to do. So we're not going to be as stressed as much as we would otherwise be, which has an effect on our cortisol. Cortisol is one of our stress hormones. So if we've slept well, our cortisol levels will be low, which is good for our gut health and our mental health. I think one of the biggest problems with menopause is you feel like I actually did question whether I was getting early dementia. And still now I can be, it happens to me often in the middle of these lives. I will have a complete blank. It's like, what on earth was I talking about? I knew I had something in my mind, and then it completely goes. And again, it's a matter of sort of, rather than resisting that, it's just like, well, it's the way it is. Can't do much about it. It will come back at some point. And I think, you know, we need to be kinder to ourselves. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole now, so I'm going to have to try and rewind back to where I was. Oh, gut health, that's right. So I will go down the other route in a minute. This is what happens. It's sporadic. Um, so yeah, when we have slept well and our cortisol levels are low, and it gives us a boost to our serotonin and obviously our overall immune system. It's also important to remember that it will have a positive effect. So we'll be able to, our blood sugar levels will be kept healthier when we've slept well. You'll find that when you're tired or if you're hungover, you're reaching for carbs, like the fast carbs, so like stodgy sandwiches or the crisps or cookies or that, or chips or that sort of thing. And that's because our blood sugars are all over the shop. When our blood sugars go high, obviously it spikes our insulin, and which is not good long term, chronic insulin, because that's sort of pre-diabetes. But also the pancreas secretes something called glucagon. Now, glucagon goes into the intestine, and essentially it means that then the food that we then eat doesn't get absorbed properly. And if the food isn't absorbed properly, we put ourselves into nutritional stress. And when we're into nutritional stress, the adrenal glands will secrete adrenaline. So that's the way the body works, is we go into our fight and flight response. Now, when adrenaline is squirted onto the bacteria in our stomachs, and we all have it in our intestines, they replicate at about 10,000 times the speed that they would otherwise without this adrenaline squirt. Well, then that's what leads to candida, these various yeast infections, and you can just set yourself up for this horrible sort of intestinal health because of your erratic blood sugar levels and your diet. So it really is important to make sure that you're eating lots of green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, kale, greens, cabbage, beets. You know, if you just add more vegetables to your diet, reduce or cut out sugar, reduce your alcohol, obviously don't smoke, cut out smoking, avoid processed foods just because they're just full of rubbish, avoid packet foods. So even if it says healthy on the packet, I did one of my Wellness Wednesdays, I did marketing labels. It's just shocking the amount. It's just like propaganda out there to try and make you buy stuff which is just full of rubbish, and it's not going to be good for you at all. If you can, just cook from scratch at home. You will save yourself a fortune, and you will save yourself a packet on your health as well, particularly long term. It's really, really important to remember that. Another tip that I do when I wake up in the morning, I now I spend 5 minutes once I've woken up, I lie there and I visualize positively. I say affirmations. So I affirm and I visualize what I want to bring into my life. And you might think that's a bit woo-woo, but I have to say it really sets up my day for success. It puts me on a really positive, in a really positive frame of mind. And another thing that I do when I'm feeling a bit erratic, I just say to myself, I've got everything I need is right inside of me now. And it's absolutely true. We've all got inside of us exactly what we need right now. Sometimes it's not apparent. And sometimes because we've got into panic mode, we're looking for things outside of ourselves to come and help rescue us. But we've got it. It's in here. And I think when you can say that to yourself and feel quite relaxed about it, for me, it makes me feel incredibly supported and a lot more relaxed. So, you know, find the affirmations that work for you. Actually, if you want, I've got this, I use it for my psychotherapy clients. It's an affirmations and visualizations document. If you want that, let me know and I will send that to you. Just PM me your email address and I'll get that across to you. It's just puts it all out. And I've got quite a lot of examples and various things that, you know, affirmations that I use that I really like. So I spend 5 minutes doing that in the morning. If I ever feel I'm getting anxious, I just deep breathe, because deep breathing is one of the simplest, easiest ways you can help get your body out of that fight and flight response and into relaxation mode. And you may need to make sure that you breathe in through your nose and you want to hold it for a few seconds and then breathe slowly out of your mouth. And the more you practice that, the slower you'll be able to breathe in, and the more you'll be able to hold it, and then the longer you'll be able to breathe it out. But that's a practice to sort of try and do 5 or 10 deep breaths whenever you're starting to feel a bit edgy and a bit anxious. It's also really good for your lymphatic system, because deep breathing stimulates the lymphatic system, which helps us to detoxify as well. So deep breathing is absolutely going to do you no harm at all. It'll do you an awful lot of good. Create little micro moments through the day. So we all go to the toilet several times a day. When you're on the loo, rather than scrolling on your phone or writing a shopping list or fretting, just sit there and create some space. Visualize expansion. It's incredibly powerful, and just those tiny little micro moments through the day, and the more you do them, the better you'll get at it. And your brain, you just give your brain time to just, it's almost like something turning off the switch for a few minutes and then turn it back on, and then you can get on with the day again. But again, when you do that repetitively or repeatedly, it does help to create a sense of, makes you feel a bit more in control. And when you feel more in control, you have more confidence and you're more relaxed. And so take some time to create these little micro moments. Being outdoors. Now, outdoor space is incredibly important, particularly if you can get out into the greenery. It just helps you to connect to nature. But there's a good reason for that too. Now, ultraviolet helps us to synthesize vitamin D within the body, which has just numerous effects on our mental and our physical health as well. You know, bone density, our heart health, but specifically for our mental health, it helps to stimulate our secretion of serotonin again, and also melatonin. And if we've got low levels of serotonin, our feel-good hormone, that is the precursor for melatonin. Now, melatonin helps us sleep at night. That's the sort of our sleepy hormone. So if our serotonin levels are low, it has a knock-on effect to how well we sleep. So being outside helps you create serotonin, which helps you create melatonin, which helps you to sleep better. So even if it's freezing cold, just rug up and get outside. Even if it's for 15, 20 minutes, it's absolutely vital, again, for your overall health. You know, at the end of the day, I think we've become so used to having a quick fix. You know, go to the doctor, get antidepressants, why do they give antidepressants to women who are in menopause? It's just nutty, because it's the wrong treatment. There are, you might choose HRT, you might choose bioidentical hormones, but there is so much that we can do ourselves within our lifestyle to help to support us along our way as well. I think we've just become so used to having a quick fix, but in actual fact, the human body is designed to be outdoors. We're designed to move, we're designed to eat clean. We're not designed to eat all the rubbish that so many of us fill ourselves with these days. So again, that's just something else to bear in mind. What would your cave ancestors have done? And they'd be doing things, and they'd be taking time out. They'd have their times of activity, but they'd have their times of community. Surround yourself with people who get you. Cut out toxic people from your life. They just have such a negative impact. Hey Tiffany, lovely to see you. Hey Jill, lovely to see you too. Gratitude, that's the other thing I do. I write a gratitude diary or type of journal thing. So at night time, I write down 1 to 3 things that I am grateful for. They always have to be different, or pretty much different, and it just sets your brain up. It just sets your brain up to be going to sleep with a positive attitude rather than one of woe is me or negativity. I think it's so easy to go to bed feeling like we're a victim, but the only time we make ourselves the victim, regardless of the circumstances, because everybody has the opportunity to choose a more positive thought process or a more negative thought process. And just writing a gratitude diary just sets you up with that positivity. And it's like reading something that's mind expanding before you go to bed. You will learn it, and it will sink in a lot better before you go to bed, because then obviously once you go to sleep, your subconscious absorbs it. The same thing applies to your gratitude or your gratitude practice, however that might be. And then essential oils are very helpful to support us during our menopause. If you need to lift your mood, then the citrus essential oils are really good. Things like lemon, orange, bergamot, geranium. Those are those are really, really good. You've got lavender to help you sleep. And also that's also very good for vaginal dryness too. In fact, you can even make your own salve out of coconut oil, and so you want an ounce of coconut oil and about 6 drops of lavender essential oil. Make sure you get a good one, and that will also help as like sort of a homemade lubricant really, but it's a safe one and it won't do any harm. So that's worth bearing in mind. The chasteberry Vitex is also Vitex chasteberry, it's the same thing. That is probably the most effective one for menopause, just because it's really affected to the way the pituitary gland in the brain works, and the pituitary helps us to regulate our hormones. And so although our progesterone and our estrogen are sort of all discombobulated and a bit sort of up and down during perimenopause, and then obviously they die off during menopause or postmenopause, it still helps the body to regulate that. So, although you may not have such high volume of those particular hormones within your body, it's still going to help to support you. And that's also what I would say about adaptogen herbs as well. They're incredibly powerful. They help the body respond to stressors, whatever that stressor might be. And I take adaptogen herbs every single day. I do use essential oils as well, but not as much as I rely on adaptogen herbs. The ones I take are things like ashwagandha, reishi, maca, what's the other one? Maytake, and Shisandra, and astralagus. And those are, oh, and cordyceps. I love cordyceps. It's this, it's a little thing it's like a little thing that grows out of the back of dead caterpillars, but it's really cool and it's incredibly effective. It looks a bit strange, but it's definitely worth using. So I swear by those. And when you can support your sort of digestive health, remember 90% of our serotonin gets created in our gut. So it's vitally important that we are looking after our digestive health. So reduce or cut out the sugars. Eat more fiber. Eat lean protein. In fact, lean protein is incredibly important as well. Now, a lot of us eat way more protein than we should do. You go to the steakhouse and literally your plate is covered in a piece of cow. You don't need that much. Excess protein gets turned to fat, but we all need lean protein. If you're vegan, you'll have your protein options of versions as well. You probably need to eat a little bit more plant protein than meat eaters do need to eat meat protein. But again, because menopausal, our muscle mass decreases, which is another reason why it's incredibly important to exercise, because you help to support your muscles, you help to support your bones, because again, brittle bones is another issue along with menopause, but we're not really focusing on those right now. But make sure that you are eating healthy protein and healthy fats as well. We need fats for our nervous system. We need fats for our brain health. It makes your skin look a bit better. If you're low on fat, you look even more wrinkly. And it also makes you more anxious if you are very low on fat. So healthy fats are incredibly important. Butter. I know saturated fats still get a bad rap. It's just nuts. Healthy saturated fats are not bad for us. Butter, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those are the top 3. And olive oil also is a very good healthy fat. You can't really cook with olive oil at high temperatures. It turns rancid if you want to cook with it at high temperatures. You're better off with coconut oil. And you can use those on your hair and skin quite safely too. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. I think write down a wake up ritual. So write down what you want to do. Maybe let me know if you want those visualizations and the affirmations ebook that I've got. It's only short, it's free. Just let me have your email address. I'll send that to you. But it's quite inspiring. And I think if you've got, all you need is like 3 or 5 minutes. You lie there. Oh, I don't really want to get out of bed yet. You say your positive affirmations. You connect with the expansion and energy of what's surrounding us, and you set your day off on a healthy, positive note. What's the alternative? Oh, I don't want to get out of bed, because you still got to get out of bed. you may as well choose the positive approach, because it's going to make your day a heck of a lot more enjoyable and more productive when you can take a positive outlook rather than a negative and very sort of closed outlook. I often say this to my Reiki clients who come for some support. You know, focus on the expansion of space. When you're feeling stressed, just you know, your micro moment on the toilet, just sit there and focus on the expansion of space. When I first started to do that, I used to connect myself with this little silver thread. So I'd be out there in space and I'd be connected with this little silver thread. I don't know why I did it, but it worked for me. Now I don't need that silver thread, because I know once I go out there, I'd come back, because I'm still sat on the toilet. But there was just, I don't know how it worked. It was just the way it looked for me. But since doing that, A, my affirmations and my visualizations are actually starting to happen. They're coming true. And B, it makes me feel so much more connected and safe. And I think if you're you know, doddering around the outsides of anxiety, or you're in the grips of anxiety, anything that makes you feel a little bit calmer and a little bit safer is going to be of a benefit. So that's all I got for you. I've done it. Nada more. So let me know. Thank you for joining me. And if you've got anything specific you would like me to go over in a future menopause tips or menopause Monday, please send it to me in either a private message or leave me a comment underneath this. And I really hope this saves so that I can share it to my IGTV, because last time it didn't save and I had to do the whole thing again. So thank you for joining me, and I wish you all well. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And Snoopy, you've been a great sidekick. Yes, my navigator. I will speak to you soon. Thanks so much.